Welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe, the podcast series for beginner web developers and general web enthusiasts. Now, introducing your show hosts, Michael Budd, Fraser Hart, Lewis Keynes, and Ed Mann.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Three Devs and a Maybe. I'm Fraser Hart and I am joined today by, as always, probably the spearhead of our little show we have here, Ed Mann.
A blunt spearhead, I'd say.
Okay,
thanks, man. But yeah, no, also, yeah, I'm brilliant. Thanks, man. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. We've also got Michael Budd with us, which is always nice to have.
Hey.
How you doing? Yeah, all right, you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
So we're actually on a bit of a roll at the moment, aren't we? Because this is, 2 in
2 weeks.
Yeah, just over a week was the last time we recorded, wasn't it? It was last Friday.
Was it last Friday or this last Friday? Wow, that's
last Friday.
Last Friday. Wow, yeah. There you go.
So 2 in 10 days isn't bad, or 11 days, whatever it's been. But so we might as well find out how your weeks have been since we last spoke. So Ed, how about you? We'll start with you.
It's been very good, thanks, man. I'll start off by just saying Lou again, still in the Celine Dion competition.
I know, because it's like an elimination event, isn't it?
It's kind of like the whole X Factor thing. Yeah,
what's the finals? That's right.
The final, it will be the finals. He's actually in the top 3 now.
Yeah.
So they
had the singing competition last week, didn't they?
That's it. Now it's dancing for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. Again, you have to tweet Lou about it.
Yeah.
I would openly just tweet and hashtag.
He's been very quiet about it, isn't it? It's as if he didn't want us to know about it for some reason.
But other than that, what have I been up to is, really work stuff kind of has been React still. So last episode actually, when we were all together, which feels weird now again, talking like through a computer. We are real people. I was doing, kind of finishing up at the deployment of the first React Webpack, all that shebang we've been doing. And, we've learned a lot throughout it, kind of, cause I think it's great. You can read tutorials, you can read books, you look at screencasts, everything. But until you've actually gone in and actually made something yourself and gone through the experience, it really doesn't set in and you don't really, kind of learn the true way of what works and stuff. So what I've got at the moment is I'm just making a simple task application, the simple to do app, but essentially kind of using what we've done, built it up, because I don't think it's kind of a sum of their parts where in their own, if you look at them on a macro level, like looking at React, it's quite trivial. You think, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then you look at Flux and you're like, okay, well that makes sense. And then you look at Babel and you're like, oh, well, Babel, that's easy. That's just transpiling and got, ES6 stuff, ES5 to ES6. That makes sense. And then you got Webpack and you're like, oh, that's just bundling it all together and doing this dependency stuff. But it's when you actually then combine them together and the sum of all that, then that goes, well, how does this all work? So adding on top of that, you've got Karma, and then you've got, Mocha, and you've got like Shoe, and you've got these layers, obviously with Karma, then you've got the browsers you support out of it, like Phantom.js, etc., etc. So what I've started to do, and I'll put it in the show notes, but I'm not sure exactly where the URL will stay, but it's a task app and it's in my GitHub repository. But what I'm going to planning to do is build this application, started building it last Friday. Yeah. Wrapping it up now. Very simple, but it's been fully tested and everything like that. It's got all the bells and whistles of the Flux stuff and everything. And planning to do a couple of, like a blog post series on it, to be able to, and it makes you realize, wow, there's so many bits and bobs. And you're like, the JavaScript ecosystem's so different and it's so immature, but at the same time, it's got so much stuff. Yeah. So it's kind of like, things change so quickly, but at the same time, there's so much that's changing as well. It makes it really overwhelming at some points because, as you say, like I think we were talking about, like, oh yeah, we're using Backbone and Backbone feels old now. And it's like, well, it was only like a couple of years ago, and it's insane. And that's insane to think that the turnover in this kind of thing. I mean, like now Angular. No, people don't want to use Angular because they're scared of Angular 2. Yep. And it's this kind of loop where it goes round the cycle of like what's hot, what's not, and So I mean, other than that, it's been really, I was working a little bit on the Project X, as I think, Mickey, you're calling it, last weekend, doing some Cartesian products and everything, all this fun stuff, blog post about that. But that's about it, really.
Fantastic. So you keep yourself busy by the sounds of things.
Keeping myself busy.
Have you got any, have you done your move yet?
We haven't, no. So this will actually be the last podcast in the house. I haven't got my Yeti with me, so this is probably, my audio will suck compared to yours.
It sounds okay to me.
It does, it sounds really clear, actually.
So get this right, that's the thing. I'm surprised at what you're saying. I was expecting this to be the most shoddy audio ever because obviously, spending all that money on the Yeti. Now I'm starting to think, why do we bother if I've got like cheap headphones in, but I'm sure, I'm hoping what happens is when I listen back to mine doesn't sound anywhere near as good as yours. So it actually makes sense to actually bought it. But yeah, so I mean, one actually other thing, and this is a shameless kind of, not plug, but so, I spoke to Mickey before we got on air, but actually Fraser as well. So what I know I've done the change. I know you knew I did the change, which was from kind of our self-hosted podcast hosting implementation to using Jekyll. Mm-hmm. And that was a great, it was an easy shift. But one kind of thing that we were missing was not great, but like the stats. Being able to easily look at stats and things like that, and moving it over to S3 has kind of been great because it's able to not have to deal with the hassle of having the files on my own box, my own virtual machine or etc. like that. But what happens now, obviously, is I don't get any information, so I've got no stats of what's going on, etc. like that. Well, that has all been solved by something called s3stat.com. Now they are awesome, but and this is a shameless plug. So they are great. I definitely recommend them because you're able to go on there, you're able to upload your file, upload it into buckets, and then using those you're able then to check for stats like who's downloaded what, how many times within what countries, etc. But they do something called the cheap bastard plan, and and that is for people who want a free account essentially. So you get a 30-day free trial, who want a free account by plugging them. So I thought, well, we have a means. This is to do with the podcast. I thought if we just, kind of go through, so this is our, our shameless cheap bastard plan plug. Use, s3stat.com, and hopefully we'll get a free account so we can carry on looking at stats that way. But I really, really do recommend them. Out of a couple that I used actually, they were the ones that kind of shone through. It's such an easy setup process because you have to set up a user access, etc. like that, and setting up the logs. But they seem to do it without any problems. And now we can go back to actually having good stats again, which is nice. But anyway, that's my shameless plug. I really cool. I was kind of weighing up. Do I say it? Do I not? But I'm thinking, hey,
no, you should.
Stuff. Yeah, exactly. Free stuff, and it was good.
I'm looking at their website. Doesn't it exactly look like a website that would have a cheap bastard plan? But sure enough, it does have a cheap bastard plan. It looks very professional, doesn't it? It doesn't look like one of these new hipster websites. It looks like a proper
No, absolutely, man, absolutely. So I mean, so Fraser, how's your week been?
It's been alright, thanks, mate. I'm just trying to think if there's anything to report. I'm just working on not a major, but quite a big refactor on one of our web apps at the office at the moment. And we've been spending a lot of time looking at the Uncle Bob videos and stuff, so I'm doing it all very TDD or trying to do it as TDD as humanly possible. And it's coming along alright. But it's been quite a painful process because the way it's been built at the moment, it seems as though the way the whole app's been architectured, there's a lot of kind of cross-referencing between different classes.
Isn't like when you try and test something, it's the moment you realise good architecture and easy architecture, hard architecture.
Yes.
It really does open you up to being like, wow, this is how we should design it differently to make it easier to test, but also it makes a better architecture. It opens up those kind of avenues.
Yes, yeah. So we've basically got one. To give an example, we've got one view which pulls in a load of bets from that meet a certain criteria, and that this page is displaying all these bets. So I'm refactoring the way that whole thing works. But then, so I've done all that, and it works okay. There's still a bit of work to do on it and stuff. But then I noticed today that in an area of the site that uses the similar data, it's now broken that. So I'm going to have to spend tomorrow finding out why that's not working. And so
it was like a small win today, followed by the end of the day realizing that, and then just going.
Yes, So it's quite a messy. It's an old product. It's one of the first web apps that we built, or the company that I work for built as web apps. So it was kind of like an experimental thing, and they've done a fantastic job of it. There's always room for improvement.
That's exactly it, isn't it? And it is funny how it is when you try and learn to test things in isolation and kind of building up these pieces, you realise, there should have been a better abstraction there. But it happens all the time. Like, code that you've written a week ago, you'll be like, I should have abstracted that better there, designed it different there. I mean, that's kind of the beauty and the curse of programming, that there's no perfect. There's always kind of, it's all right for now.
Yeah, it does the job, and you get the end result, and the tests all pass.
It's great. Having the test pass is awesome. I mean, actually today, speaking about it, me and a work colleague, we were working on, so actually, sorry, but it's completely changing the subject.
No, go on.
I'm really sorry about, like, we're just saying we're working on a project which uses something called Kong. So it's an API middleware system. So our idea is that we're going to start doing more API stuff. We've been really quite successful with the way of doing the how stuff we've done now. We want to be able to spread that out and kind of have separate applications within our main application, which allows us then to kind of have different growth rates and different development growth rates and processing and hopefully using different languages and stuff. So we're using something called Kong, which is an API middleware, and essentially you're able to route all your API requests through that. It then will handle the security and rate limiting and stuff like that. But one thing it doesn't do well, or it has an API with it, but it doesn't allow us to declaratively like specify what we want, like what APIs you want, what plugins they should have, etc. Because it helps with a deployment system like Jenkins and, like being able to deploy it up on a server. This is what it should be. Make it that. And what the problem we had was it doesn't do that. You have to do these API calls. So we were like TDDing an approach today, bring it back to the tester. Yeah. So we were TDDing an approach today, and we found it's such a nice experience, TDDing it all the way through, having that, having a great design, a design that, again, some of the bits you're like thinking, it would never have got to that if I hadn't, kind of looked at it through this kind of these lenses. And having a nice test suite as well.
It does just give you a huge peace of mind as well, doesn't it? That's the thing that I think I like best about it. The fact that like you can do something and it's going to work, and that's all you need to know.
Well, that's it. Absolutely. Anyway, so anything else? I mean, have you been doing any, like, what Uncle Bob videos have you currently been looking at?
We've not watched one for a couple of weeks, but we've seen the TDD 1 and 2. We've got the whole series, so I need to bring those away and watch those. And we've also bought an Uncle Bob book, so it's been a bit of an Uncle Bob themed few weeks, but we bought his Clean Coders book.
Highly recommend it, man.
Haven't read it, but it's on my desk already to bring home and stuff. So
I would say that is probably the most influential book in the past couple of years I've had in
really?
without a shadow of a doubt. Ooh. It's practical advice. It's awesome. It will it will change your code for the better. Honestly, I mean it. It really is a great book.
I would definitely have to make a point of doing that then. And Mickey,
hello. Yeah,
you're back. So how about you? You had a good week?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I thought my phone was ringing off the hook. I was getting really annoyed, and I realised Toby set my alarm. So
yeah, Toby,
legend.
That is brilliant. That is classy.
I've had a good week. Thanks. It was really good. So I started my final year project on Saturday, and I felt like, to be honest with you, felt like a first time in ages. Sort of was learning some new stuff, and I say new stuff that's been around for ages. But so I think I was telling Ed and put on Twitter I was using Maven for the first time.
How did you find that?
I mean, that's not really a criticism, but I mean, for me, I've always for some reason I don't find XML that readable.
No, not at all.
No,
that's not a criticism. That is a design.
That is just as it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do much prefer JSON really. So I guess I prefer playing with Composer, but Maven, to be fair, it was fine and did what I needed to do. And basically, Ed he'd recommended a spider that for me to use because I needed to crawl a load of web pages. So I found it, and it just gave simple instructions on how to use it with Maven. So I just added dependency, and it was fine, to be honest with you.
How did the crawling go? I mean, did it go too well, some might say, through your Twitter posts?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I was doing too much because I was just fascinated by it, but I probably don't need all that I was doing. I mean, I've actually stopped it now, but it was getting tens and tens of thousands.
Some would say you're trying to DDoS people's servers. Some would say,
So I did get cut off by BT Broadband.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because I was obviously pinging so many sites.
Yeah.
So quickly. Although really, you think for a DOS attack you'd be pinging one site.
I think what they probably thought was because they probably thought you were may either be a zombie or something. Where you're just hitting all these IPs at different, just crawling is to say, because what it is crawling is a perfect DOS attack, really, isn't it? Where it's kind of random, just go to all these pages, grab them, hit them as quick as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
So, but no, honestly, I fully recommend just doing it for fun. But it's really interesting. Especially I added Wikipedia, And as soon as you add something like Wikipedia, you can imagine like all the links that are on Wikipedia. You just set off this big snowball.
So what are you essentially? What are you storing from all these from this crawl?
Okay, so really, just while I was just playing on Saturday, all I really saw was like the URLs. But eventually, I think what I'll have to do is actually store the HTML. But I really want it's like the kind of like the tree, like the nodes and stuff. So then I can like go and say, well, okay, what's this H1? What's this? Yeah. So then I can start building some sort of metrics on like, you know, what is factoring into a good search result, really. So yeah, eventually it will change. Saturday really was just me refamiliarizing myself with Java, because it's been maybe a year since I've touched any Java, so that was good. And using Maven, and I just kind of wanted to get my kind of like structure of my project together. And but yeah, the crawling was great fun. And then the second part of it really that I did on Saturday was, and this is where, you know, you guys have helped out or will
I'm hoping to help out. I still need
to do that as well. Yeah, I'll do that tonight.
Yeah, no worries. There's no rush at all. But and actually that includes anyone who's like listening. If they're kind enough to let me to put some of my JavaScript on their site.
Totally trustworthy guy.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. But no, basically all I'm doing is just I want to track like how long someone spends on a page. And from my research, like what I found out is that when Google is tracking that, it's not actually what it actually does. And again, I guess no one really knows, but this is what's sort of speculative, is that what they do is they track the start time that you go onto a page, and then they track the time that you go onto the next page on that site. So that's how they count it, rather than saying, when do they close the page, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing the same thing really, which is actually sounds quite unfair, because if you think like bounce rates and stuff, if you go on a page, even if you're on there for an hour, if you never go to another page on that site, I think that would still count as a bounce from the research I've done.
And how do they? Because I suppose if you're leaving the site as well to go on, you can't really log that either. You have to be. It has to be a hit on that one page to go to another page to.
That's it. And I mean, there is like, I was looking, and you know, you can like, obviously like it's how a lot of the spammy sites work, that you can put like an event listener on closing of the page.
No one like, I think that Google Chrome, actually blocked that. I think a couple of browsers block it.
It's like, are you sure you want to leave?
It's like, I don't know.
Oh, actually, now you mention it, I would like to stick around.
Well, actually, I was going to mention that, I was segueing slightly, but I was saying this to someone the other day, and they were agreeing they had the exact same thing, that they're starting to notice a lot more sort of spammy sites getting through now. And I've noticed one of the things I've got now is like some sites, if you go to a page, what happens is you click on a link, and rather than like opening a pop-up, it does open that link, but then it like changes the content on the page that you're on to like the adverts and stuff. So it's kind of like
and opens the link that opens the link that you've done in a separate tab. But makes your current tab.
Yes, yeah. So they get around that, which kind of think, well, that's really clever. Like, surely people would have thought about that years ago, but I've been noticing that a lot more recently. But anyway, I think generally like event listeners on closing page is never going to be a good thing. So I've stayed, clear of that.
Do you know what? Because I remember asking you, like, you couldn't get it off the top of your head. Like, what was the actual script that you're using? And did you make it yourself, or did you?
So, kind of. It's a bit of a hybrid, really. So, one of the things I was thinking of is, well, in able to do this, really, I need to know if that user is still the same user that's got on the next thing. So, really, almost like a session data type thing. I need to know it's the same person. So, I started looking at like front end ways of doing that, and basically, if you Google it, I can't remember the exact one I used, but there's a lot of people who've created like a fingerprint piece of code. They're all just taking like a combination of things like the date, and then your the browser you're using. And it just takes a combination of factors to create like a unique fingerprint. So I've used someone else's code for that, and then all I'm doing really is just getting just using the date time.
Yeah.
Function in JavaScript, using that, and that's all I'm really tracking, really. So there's no personal details or anything like that.
Credit card numbers.
Just bank, credit card numbers, chip and pins,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's the second bit that I'm doing, really, because I just need to track behavior, because I think probably again, really speculative at this stage, but I think a large part of like Google's search algorithm is to do with behavior now. and especially things like.
So is that behavior on the site or behavior of the actual web server itself? Like what would
on the site? So like, how many pages does a user go onto on that site? You know, because
they've got the browser and they've got analytics, which is a beautiful thing because literally analytics is allowing them all this free information, isn't it really? Because it's saying, oh, by the way, exactly. I'm now on this page, and they can, even though you're getting that information, they also get it, which is great for them.
I mean, that is the thing, isn't it? Like, everyone probably thinks analytics what a great tool, but we are doing them a massive favour by giving them. Absolutely.
Because you're for free, you're giving access to all this information.
Exactly, and I'm sure I've said this before, but like I heard someone say once, like, if you're getting something for free, you are the product, basically.
Yeah. I like that. That's a really good, that's a great way of kind of thinking of it.
It's really, really very true. But the thing is, obviously, like, you know, Google is like Pinocchio. He wants to be a real person. And so how does Google know what is good content? Well, it doesn't really, but obviously the longer a user stays on the site, the more credibility it can give to it.
It learns from us, doesn't it, almost? It learns from what our viewing habits are, what our habits are on that site.
Yeah.
And is able, I mean, because it wasn't there that spam, was it the captcha? They updated their captcha that you no longer have to type in this horrible, kerfuffle image, but it works out by the way that you actually, click on a button. By the way you click, I don't know if you've seen it yet. It's really interesting. Like, if you check it out, just go on and, it's reCAPTCHA's, implementation now. And if you go on it and just, the way you click on it, it says, are you human? Click here. And by the way that you're actually clicking on that actual checkbox, it can work out if you're human or not, which is mind-blowing. And it
That's
works.
interesting that they're doing that, actually, because it might be an urban myth or something, but I always thought the reason that they had the captures, you have two to do, and one's generally quite easy to read and one's generally quite difficult. Yeah. I thought it was because they didn't know how to work out what bits of text were. They've scanned all these old documents, or they've got these. So if they've got this bit of thing that they can't currently decipher with their text translation, then if you're a human and you get the first one right, then you'll automatically give them a pass on the second one, so they'll then know what that one is, and they'll be able to improve their algorithms. That's what I always was under the impression.
You can't put it past them for that. That's really interesting. Yeah. That probably is I mean, that was the trouble with these things, wasn't it? Because if they're too easy, OCR technologies can easily pick them up.
Yeah.
But if they're too hard, then no one can. And then you've got I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure, I'm sure you've seen, you can have the little audio, so you actually can play the thing to you as well. Yeah. Where you can have it's all a bit, it's all just fight spam and stuff, but yeah, it gets to kind of where the user experience gets impeded so much, where you're just you're actually, hurting your audience as opposed to not only the people, you're trying to, try and get away from.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
And actually, that's the thing actually with configuration as well. Because I know we've bashed XML there, and it is true. I mean, it's a bit verbose, and you've got things like DTDs and stuff like that, which help validate it, and then you've got XLSTs, I think it is, whatever, just style it and stuff like that. But I was wondering, what is your favourite configuration formats? Because there seems to be kind of a lot of them.
There's YAML and all that kind of stuff. I just I don't know, JSON, I guess, because I'm more familiar with it.
I mean, JSON's a great one, isn't it? And I listened to a talk from Douglas Crockford. That's the guy. Sorry, but he was talking about JSON and what would be the next JSON, because that's become an ubiquitous format, transfer format, gone from XML to that. You had TOML, which was one that Geordie, but I remember when me and you, Fraser, talked to Geordie for the composer dude, TOML was this Tom's markup language, the guy.
Is that the one where I didn't speak because I was drunk and I was eating chicken?
That was exactly it. The KFC. So good. But then you've got the formats that I actually prefer, which are the programming formats. So a lot of them now, similar like Karma, Webpack, they just use straight up JavaScript files. And similar to what Laravel do, where they return an array, a PHP array. Because what that allows you to do is it allows you to do computation within those. So, you can load up and do all these different things. So you're not actually in a static kind of sense with the XMLs and with the JSONs. You're with, in a dynamic sense where, you can fetch things, you can do loops, you can check environment variables based on your configuration and stuff. And yeah, I mean, for me, I'm kind of leaning towards that now, where all the configuration stuff that I've been doing with, Karma and Webpack and the JavaScript stuff has really been just straight JavaScript.
So you can load this if meet this requirement.
Absolutely. You could do anything. I mean, you could then be like, oh, actually, I need to hit this from the database, get this from the database. Okay, I can get it from the database. I mean, I remember doing that a couple of times with PHP, where essentially in a PHP file, and similar to, with module exports with JavaScript, you can just return an array. And if you require that, it just returns that array. It returns, the contents of that, but it doesn't know how it got that. You can compute it. So I was thinking maybe that is kind of the sweet spot, where you can have this kind of very clean, because the idea you want a nice clean interface, which you easily understand, but you also want to have the flexibility, and maybe that is kind of in between, and especially with something like JavaScript, which is already just JSON, essentially.
Yeah.
If people aren't, messing around with it. So I just thought that's an interesting one, put it out there, kind of, I mean, like, I know that we all like JSON, and I think that's right, because it's such a nice format, but it's interesting to see what would be next, and what, I know what we would prefer.
Just jumping back to the Java world just quickly, because you were one of the people, and I had many other people text message me or whatever saying, don't use Maven, use Gradle.
Oh, no, I wasn't, but you were right there. That's a good point. I remember you, all this bash shit on Maven. I should have mentioned Gradle. That's the groovy one, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you used this? Or?
I haven't, no. I've used SPT, Simple Build Tool, which is the Scala one a bit, but not either Maven or Gradle.
Okay. All right. Well, let's kill that conversation. I was going to ask you what it was like, but yeah.
Well, right. Groovy. I mean, it's essentially Groovy. So if you like Groovy language, which is essentially on the JVM, it's the Ruby equivalent almost.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I'm actually speaking about kind of like Douglas Crockford and stuff, so I'm squipping between things here.
Yeah,
so I found that talk actually on a GitHub repository. I'll put it in the show notes. It's called Awesome Talks. And essentially it's just this guy he collaborates with people. People find an awesome talk online. They do a pull request to this Awesome Talks repo, and it's an easy, nice aggregate resource. And it's great for finding talks. One person that I found and really enjoy at the moment is called Sandy Metz. She's a Ruby developer, and she's been around the Ruby scene for quite a long time, but she teaches like fundamental OO principles, but she teaches them in such an interesting way. And her book, I think it's called the Poop Book or whatever it's called, because it's programming object-oriented something or other. And it's brilliant. I mean, I haven't read it yet, but it's a brilliant name. Or brilliant acronym at least anyway. And I need to check that out actually, because the way she speaks about object-oriented programming, because she comes from the Smalltalk world, which is similar to what Kent Beck was from, and it really kind of opens you up into a different realm. They really think of true objects, and these things. So, no, I mean, I'll put a couple of, screencasts or lectures in the show notes, because some of them are really interesting, but I definitely recommend her.
So yeah, that's about me really. Well, that's about the most exciting thing I did all week, but it just felt good to be,
No, I mean, that's it. I mean, how do you find getting back into Java actually? Was that an interesting experience? Did you, the compiled stage and stuff like that?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because yeah, I found it very easy to get back in, game, because I guess in many ways I program PHP in the Java way, I guess, and the principles of OO just make sense to me. But like, I was talking to a guy about it today, I was like, well, I don't feel like OO is like cool anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you get much cred for being an OO guy. Like,
see, I found that, and then I've now found a new lease of life for it, because of the whole kind of Sandy Metz, the Kent Beck way, designing true OO systems and things. It's a strange one.
Yeah,
like you say, it's shifting to functional, and it's
definitely stateless. Yeah, definitely. But I really like it, to be honest with you. And but it was, you're right. I might have to have a play with Groovy, because I need to I want to learn new stuff on this project.
Well, I mean, this is the great thing. I mean, on the JVM, you've got so many different languages you can look at. Scala, Clojure, straight up Java, Java 8. You can then use Groovy, and you can use JRuby, Jthon, and I mean, the thing is you can also, the interoperability between them all is pretty awesome, to be able to then use just straight up Java packages. So if you want to use a Java package, but then go and play around, just using that language there for this, you can. I mean, that seems like a really cool kind of experimentation in itself.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, one thing I was going to talk to you guys about, and I completely forget what I was going to talk about. But
it's been a couple this evening for me. I seem to have, my mind has gone blank at least 3 times.
It doesn't help like drinking whiskey while recording, but Yeah, I tweeted about it earlier in the week, but obviously you guys probably don't read my tweets. But
The Stack Overflow thing? Because I thought that was hilarious. Dash suicide for a Git commit. I love the fact the guy actually probably tried it as well, thinking, hey, it's Git.
I really did.
For the lols.
Because basically, I knew I could just delete my Git files, but I didn't know if there was like a Git command I could just do to just clean out everything I got. And then I searched it, and then Stack came up and it said, yeah, Git commit suicide. I was like, sounds too good to be true. But, yeah, no, it was just some guy joking. But it would have been amazing.
We can write a bash script to do it.
Yeah, true. But yeah, no, this is something that I saw in Twitter quite a lot. And it's like one of those things like, I should have known about this. And it's apparently been around for months and months and months. But I just, like anything, I'm always the last to know. But this, is it accelerated mobile?
Oh, no, you're the one that showed me that, the APM stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Google stuff. I mean, I'm bamboozled by it. Like, I don't really understand how, I assume it's very content, driven, where, if you've got content heavy websites, that's going to be a massive performance boost there. But
yeah, I mean, I should have really learnt more before I come out here talking about it, which is why I was going to ask if you guys knew about it. But we sort of like, I saw it and I was like, whoa. And then like our marketing manager was like, set off alarm bells like, we need to be doing this now. Like,
well, because I mean, for Google, this is like, I mean, for Google, if you're doing this, you're instantly going to. This is an extra weight, isn't it? That they're going to bear it all in mind. I'm guessing.
Yeah, and it's not just Google. Like, I think like a lot of the standards in there have been agreed with like a lot of the big boys, like Twitter and stuff. And yeah, it looks really interesting.
So do you know what essentially is it then? Have you got kind of?
Well, so we got a guy. We got Tito from our place. Have a look at it straight away, basically, and he kind of tried to implement it. So there is like a framework. That you can download basically, and there's like certain like new tags that you put on there using like HTML5.
So are they custom HTML5?
They are.
They're not standard HTML5 tags. Okay.
No, they are custom. And again, sorry if I'm saying this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. And I've not played with it myself. I kind of read about it and got Tito on the case. But
so you're blaming poor Tito. That's what you're doing. Tito. You're like, yeah, if my information is wrong, it's Tito's fault. Lovely.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tito.
And yeah, but basically, I think the idea is that, I mean, this is a lot for like article pages and stuff. The idea that they want like what they call like instant page load. So I think the actual standard is like half a second. That should be like the maximum it takes for a page to load on these mobile pages. And I think the idea is that it's just, I really need to have a look, but I was reading about like, cache functions and stuff like that. So, I was asking Tito about it, and he was saying, yeah, basically, the whole thing, like obviously giving your functions names and stuff, so they're cached. But I also read about shared cache functions. So I don't know if there's like specified like functions that they put in this, in the framework that you can use that are already there type thing.
Right. I mean, I'll have to check this out. I mean, because I know there's been like a load of other technologies where, instead of full page reload, it goes and fetches the minimal amount of content it needs and brings that back and then replaces the page with that. And then, like Google Chrome does fetches on its own. Like you'll find sometimes if it's just a get, idempotent get request, it will already fetch that content preemptively, like thinking, oh yeah, you want that. Okay. So it kind of gives the illusion that it's quick, but essentially it has had to do the whole round trip again.
You know what? I think that's exactly what this does. And I think a lot of stuff in there is like tried and tested stuff, like asynchronous loading of stuff and, pushing everything to the bottom and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's just like an agreed standard. And like I say,
I like the name, AMP. I mean, there's actually, I think there's an energy drink called AMP. So, obviously energy drink.
You love your energy drinks, yeah.
I sadly do.
Are you still on those?
Minimal now.
Minimal.
Amy's got them off. Amy's like kind of, kick that habit.
Take you off.
Which I'm happy about because I was on too many. We're talking about caffeine drinks, Amy. Yeah, no more. No, not allowed. And rightfully so. They're bad for me, aren't they?
There was a stage where you were like plugging an energy drink of the week every time you come on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
there was. There was like
the Hulk Hogan drink or something.
Oh, the Coke Vanilla was the go-to, wasn't it? Where we had vanilla Coke. Not vanilla. What am I doing? No, chili Coke. Wow, yeah, vanilla Coke. That's easy. Yeah. Everyone knows about vanilla Coke. Chili Coke. I remember that stuff. Cola Rebel. And then
Cola Rebel.
Yeah, Cola Rebel. Oh man, yeah.
And did you know that? It might have been you guys who told me this, but apparently Red Bull, the guy who got rich off that, he didn't actually make the drink. It was like he found it in Japan or something. and then basically just took it back to America, and it spread, and
Really?
just made it absolute fortune.
Wow. I mean, it is so bad for you.
It tastes so good though.
That's the trouble.
And it's just what you need when you're tired. It's just what you need, isn't it?
Yeah, that sweet, kind of instant boost. That's how drug habits start. Sorry, Fraser. Okay.
Start off on the easy stuff.
Yeah, the first one's always free, as they say.
So sorry, I completely segued there.
No, that's fine, man.
Yeah, I did my usual thing where I start talking about something on a podcast, and I haven't actually researched it myself.
No, because I remember you tweeted it, and I need to have a look into it as well. I mean, it seems one of those things where I say if Google are doing it, then a lot of people have to do it because it's another factor that comes into it. Where they're going to be plugging. I mean, it's same with sites, site loading. It's not about content as much as it is about how quick the site loads, how good the site is. Kind of in those aspects as well. So. No, absolutely. I completely agree. It's one of those things you've got to bear in mind. And it's funny. I mean, I don't know whether, because I'm sure, as you say, the big boys are doing it like Twitter, Facebook, because the walled garden of Facebook is one of those interesting ones as well, where they just kind of have their own little world.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they like it as well. It's an interesting one.
Yeah. And the only other thing I've been playing with this week, and again, it's not new, but just been playing with Facebook Open Graph.
Yeah. So what have you been doing with Open Graph then?
Well, just basically, as we've got our own sort of bespoke CMS system where I work, and so we just really added support for that now. So when you're sort of printing pages, because we actually print physical pages, so we're actually putting all that metadata in there now, just pre-populating all the fields, and we do allow the user to actually set an image, but it just allows you to
that's the meta stuff that then if Facebook crawls that website or like you put that into Facebook, it knows, this is the image you want to show.
Yeah, or if you share that page.
You can do it with Twitter as well, can't you? I think
cards are they called? Twitter cards?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Again, there should be open standards for this. There should be a standard way of a site should it's one of those. I mean, we've got fav icons. Let's increase it.
Yeah, that's what I said. Because I mean, what happens when the next 2-3 big social networks come up and they've all got different ways of doing it? Do you know what I mean? It should be like a standardized way of doing it, surely.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could argue
it gets to the stage where you have to put like 15 different meta tags or something to service whatever's popular.
It's crazy, and in the world of like HTML5, where we've got that extra kind of freedom now to do that, you think it would make a lot more sense to have a standardized way, surely. But there we go. So I've been playing with that. It was pretty easy to do, but nice little feature.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. And and in your free time, obviously, Project X and Project. I like the name Project X. I think it's such a cool name. So what's your next thing on your uni project that you're planning to do? Is this carrying on crawling, or are you going to start kind of working different things?
I think it's one of those where like the further I get on, the more I realise how doomed it is. But it's just there's so many different factors that Google is probably taking into consideration. And like you say, because of their access to analytics and code on your site, they know a lot more than I can probably get hold of. So my experiments and tests are going to have to be a lot more isolated on individual sort of search terms, that kind of stuff, rather than try to find a solution for the whole of the web. So I don't know. I think what I'm going to try and do is, as one of my seeds for my spider is, I might search some Google terms, see what it comes back with, and then start crawling those sites myself, start scraping the content, and then basically, essentially, I need to find out what all the different variables in that algorithm are going to be. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's like I say, user behavior, backlinks. Backlinks is going to be another interesting one. How I'm going to get those? I think there are paid for API services you can use to get those. But I really need to find out all the different factors, and then I can start calculating to find out, what the positive effect each one has. Yeah. So.
That seems like a lot of interesting stuff to do there.
Yeah, and I've got till September to do it, so there's no mad rush. But and in the meantime, also, I'm still learning about, still reading about machine learning and the different ways of doing things. So just taking it one day at a time, really. So, one day a week at a time. So
one day a week at a time. I like. How about you, Fraser? Are you doing anything? How's that project going that you were talking about, the Ionic one?
Yeah, I've not had a chance to work on it for a couple of weeks. Just I've been so busy. I'm still waiting on a lot of the data to come through from the guy that I'm working on it with. So it's not like he's sitting there waiting for me to do stuff.
That's always nice when you have it. You're waiting for them, not the other way around.
And did I mention I was having kind of performance issues with it and stuff because it's not a huge amount of data, but I'm using the Angular ng repeat, and then you can sort those quite easily, and it's really easy to sort. But the performance isn't quite what I want it to be. There's only 40 items, but I'm doing quite a lot of calculations on the data, so I've got lat and long points. So quite regularly, I'm going through the whole list of 40 things and then working out the distance and the bearing from your current position based on your lat long. So it's quite an intensive calculation that it's doing like 40 times, and then to re-render the actual list, because there's icons and all that kind of stuff to signify the data. It's a little bit laggy. It's not as fast as I want it to be. So it'll be interesting to see what it looks like on a real device, because I've not yet put it on a real device, only on simulators. But I'm looking forward to getting a bit of time to actually get back into that, to be honest.
That's cool, man. And
I've managed to get sorry to jump in on you there.
No, go for it, man.
My Space Beer Cave as well. I've managed to free up enough space to get Xcode on my Mac.
Hey, look at that!
And I've downloaded the project file, but I just need to borrow my girlfriend's iPhone to test it on, because it won't run within a simulator, and apparently that's something standard with Cocoon.js. It won't run on the actual device simulators, but you need a real device to run on. So I don't have an iPhone, so I need to borrow my girlfriend's iPhone.
Please, may I borrow your iPhone so I can test my face? Oh, when that comes out, let me know. I will be all over that.
Awesome! Yeah, I need to get it.
All over that. I want to win a T-shirt. We never got the picture from that guy, did we?
No, we didn't. That's a good point, actually.
Send us a picture in. We need a picture. Yeah. That sounds really wrong.
How dare he? Yeah, because he promised me one as well. And it did arrive, because I think he said that because he lives in Australia, doesn't he? And I sent it to his brother's place because he was coming over to see his brother, and I got confirmation that it had arrived from him. So he's definitely got his hands on it. So if you're listening,
it's a bit awkward now saying, "Can I have a picture of you, please?"
Yeah.
Send
us a picture.
Yeah, that is a bit kind of
bit creepy.
Bit creepy. Yeah.
Never mind.
Oh man, and actually, other thing is a book that I'm currently reading, that I wouldn't mind actually plugging.
Go for it.
And I mean, I don't know whether I'm trying to think, Mickey, this may be interesting for you, with your machine learning stuff, but I'm not quite sure. It's kind of like the foundations of computation. So it's called Understanding Computation. The guy, Tom Stewart, I think his name is, he was on the, is it Tom Stewart? Yes, Tom Stewart, sorry. He's a British guy, and he was on the Functional Geekery podcast a couple of episodes back. Still haven't had a chance to listen to that one. But when we had, Proctor on from, Functional Geekery, he was talking about this book, and I was like, oh, well, I better get this then. So got the book, and I'm loving it. A couple of chapters in so far, and essentially it's kind of looking at computer programs and how they work. So, how do you build a compiler and interpreter and things like this? And, you're going through different ways of like kind of semantics for it. So there's stuff like big step semantics, small step semantics, denotional semantics. And it's all written in Ruby. So it's all so it's quite an easy read kind of code wise. But yeah, so I mean, I'm now on the second chapter, which is talking about, finite state machines or finite state automata, and you've got finite and deterministic state, finite state machines, and undeterministic. It's very interesting stuff. Kind of like a new, for me, I mean, I did computer science at university, but I never really learnt this stuff. So it's probably on me to have put more effort kind of into looking at it at another time. But now I really want to get into it and kind of understand like the base, kind of how programs work. So I really recommend it. Really interesting read.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds interesting. I was going to say just random, like, bit of information, but do you remember like one time I told you, because we've all got like, actually, I don't know, Fraser, if you've got one or not, actually, but...
this is awkward.
This is awkward. Where am I going with this conversation?
Yeah, I hope so.
Do you remember we all, at a certain company we used to work at, got given a Android tablet?
I didn't.
Oh, man, I should have.
I got back from New Zealand like about a week before you all got those, so I don't think I've been there long enough to earn it.
Yeah, but... So, yeah, sorry. But anyway,
a bit sore about that.
So I think I told you guys like ages ago, I couldn't get mine working, and then like...
you said you broke it or something. I remember you coming around and saying, have you still got yours? It actually works.
Yeah, well, I thought mine was... Well, apparently what happened, because I hadn't taken out the box for like 2 years or something. What happened, because apparently it's got a lithium battery, it's pretty common, but if lithium batteries go completely flat, you can't charge them, apparently.
All right.
Well, basically what you have to do is what they call like jump starting it. What you have to do is like unplug the lead, plug it in, take it out, plug it in, and you have to do that. Just keep doing it over and over. If you just plug it in and you leave it like that, it won't charge.
Ah.
So just a little tip. Apparently it's a common problem. Like,
have you solved it then? Is it working?
Yeah, I got it working now. So.
Oh wow! So you just
That's
it's
cool.
almost like giving it like a heart machine defibrillator thing. Dush, give it a shock.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so if you've got one and you don't know why it's not working,
Give
don't
it a
throw
shock.
it away. Give it a shock. But yeah, it's run flat again now, and I don't really use it.
You charged it up once, you're like, oh, I'm using it now. I don't want it anymore. Well, you'll find you have so many updates because I think you'll be on like 4.4 or 4.3
Yeah.
gingerbread, not jelly bean or whatever it is, and then you.
You're still using yours, aren't you?
I'm using mine, well, mainly for testing though. That's the hardest thing. It's all testing. So I'm using 5, which is again I can't remember what is 5 again. Fraser, you'll know this.
Oh,
It's Marshmallow's the next one.
Marshmallow, so Lollipop.
Lollipop,
And then,
yeah.
what was before that? JK, Kit Kat.
Kit Kat.
That was a weird one, the Kit Kat one.
Yeah, Kit Kat, 4.4, yeah. And then Jelly Bean and honeycomb. Yeah, weird. Anyway. Yeah, so I'll use it, yeah. It's a nice bit of kit. I mean, it is nice. It's just, yeah. I mean, that's another thing, actually. My contract's running up on my phone soon. And I am thinking of getting the 6S.
Oh, I thought you were going to make a big announcement. You're thinking of getting an Android.
No, I couldn't do that, you know. Amy's the Android user in this relationship. she's her contract's up, and I think
she's a sensible one, is what you're trying to say.
I'm pretty certain she's going to go for a Samsung. I don't know why. I've just got an inkling. What are you going to go for, Amy?
Not sure yet.
She's not sure yet. I don't know.
Well, they're very
Heard
cool.
it here first.
Yeah.
Whatever's cheapest, which will be Android or Windows Phone. Do you want a Windows Phone? BlackBerry. No. There you go. Boom. At least we've got that. We've got a fine line. BlackBerry. Don't like them. So.
What about move away from phones, but PHP 7. What's the latest?
Well, the updates on that. I mean, it's an RC. It's a release candidate. I can't remember what one, but it's pretty much. I mean, speaking to Joe Watkins, I need to actually talk to Joe about maybe doing a couple more podcasts and also video series casts because I mean they went really well. I think it's just in a mature state, like it's just kind of maturing in that state in RC, and then eventually within, I think December, I want to say November, December, it'll be released, and wow, we'll have PHP 7.
And what goodness we'll have? So we'll have return type hinting.
We'll have type hinting on return and passing in. We'll have, a load of stuff. So we'll have like the AST, so then it'll be quicker, obviously. We'll have the idea that you have that intermittent step where it has the AST, so it does the parsing, and then it will do the optimizations before running it.
It's going to be like twice as quick or something, isn't it?
Something ridiculous from 5.6. You'll have this is when you put us on the spot. Essentially, right. I'll tell you what, I'll put a link in the show notes, but a lot of good things. Stuff like null cull skin operator. I remember us talking about that. You weren't a fan of the Elvis operator, the two curly, the two question marks. So I thought it was quite nice. There's actually a proposal for short, not short array syntax now, but short closure syntax, which I hope goes through, following quite a similar way that JavaScript, ECMAScript, 2015 does it. And that's one thing actually now. I mean, JavaScript ES2 2015 has just become my favorite language to use at the moment. It's great. I absolutely love it. I love, the short array syntax, array dereferencing, all of the shebang's great. There's a lot of good stuff, and obviously I'd say upgrade as soon as you can.
Yeah. Sounds good. I look forward to it.
You look forward to it. Look forward to it. I like it. I like it a lot. Well, guys, I mean, anything else people want to mention for this podcast? I thought, it's been nice. I mean, I randomly mentioned doing it this morning, and I just thought, well, we haven't done one in a couple of weeks. Let's keep this ball rolling.
Yeah, good to do.
Yeah, man. And anything else? Any shout outs? Any kind of things of note you want to mention before we kind of head off?
Hi, Mum.
Hi, that's it. Hi, Mum, as well. Yes.
Yeah, she doesn't listen.
My mum listened to half an episode I made her listen to. And
it's like, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, he's on the radio. It's not the radio, though. And that was the straw. Can I find this on BBC Radio 4? No. Sorry, Mum. Actually, that's the thing. Actually, completely changing the subject quickly. Boom. Radio 4. got some amazing programming documentaries and recordings series on. Talk about Fortran Java. They actually do on Radio 4. It's amazing. I will put them in the show notes as well. It just seems to be like a show note heavy podcast, but really recommend it. There was like I think I mentioned it to you, Mickey, about the, I think it's Ada Lovelace's birthday today, I think, actually, as well. So happy birthday. She's first programmer, with the Charles Babbage, the Babbage machine. But yeah, like,
I thought she was dead.
She is dead, but it would have been her birthday. Oh yeah, it's like her birthday. It would have been her birthday. Yeah, she was born like 18 something or other. But yeah, no, so yes.
So are we.
18.
I thought you said 19.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, 19. Yeah, 8. Yeah, 19. Oh man, but yes. So yes, I mean Ada. Obviously, after there was a language made in her name. But no, there was a really good documentary on BBC about her, where this mathematician goes around and kind of speaks, talks about her life and everything, and it's really interesting. So I recommend that. That again will be in the show notes. So there's more show note stuff. I think pretty much this episode is just look at the show notes and you'll get a good rundown of what we were actually talking about.
Yeah, look at the show notes, save yourself an hour.
And we say this at the end of the show. Just to go.
Fast forward to the end.
Well, at the beginning, we'll say, please fast forward to the end if you wish to not listen, which makes no sense. Oh, man. Anyway, guys, it's been awesome talking to you.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
And we'll keep this ball rolling, hopefully in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have Lou on. Yes. I know he's had a couple of problems with internet service providers where his new place.
But you'd think like Las Vegas and everything. It would be
Las Vegas, I know, exactly. It's hot, page, Wi-Fi everywhere. So, our audience, it's been awesome speaking to you, and I'll say speaking to you, speaking at you.
Thank you for listening.
And thank you for listening, yeah.
Cheers.
See you later, bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
You've been listening to 3 Devs and a Maybe. You can contact us at contact@3devsandamaybe.com or follow us on Twitter at 3 Devs and a Maybe.